Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Lena Löfdahl. Hi, Lena. Welcome back.
Hi. Thank you.
So, Lena, on Tuesdays, we dive into the universe of teams and how sometimes they develop these behaviors or patterns that lead to trouble. But before we get into that, we do want to know, what was the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master?
So I've selected for me what is a classic, and that is the Scrum and XP from the Trenches book. And that is by the authors Henrik Kniberg, who is a Swedish consultant here in Stockholm. And why it had such an impact on me when I first read it and when I read it again is because it's talking to me in a language that I can really relate to. That the situations that he describes are situations that I'm facing or have faced. So this is like my advisor sitting right next to me in these tricky situations that I've faced in my career. And it also, of course, it helps that it's free. That is, of course, a good thing. And I also use it a lot for teaching. And it seems to be a pretty good one for that. It gives you a comprehensive overview of Scrum and XP.
A classic indeed. As you said, it doesn't hurt that it's free. So everyone can go out and download the book. We'll put the link on the show notes so that people can easily find it. So, Lena, thank you for that recommendation. Now we turn our attention to the teams, which are, after all, the center of our attention when it comes to figuring out how to succeed as a Scrum Master. So tell us a story of a team, tell us a little bit about their context, and then walk us through those steps, those slow steps that developed a pattern that later on showed that it was problematic.
So I was working in a team that was in a BSS transformation. And BSS, of course, stands for Business Support System. So we were working at transformation, trying to move all our customers into one system. And I was leading a team in the identity domain. And of course, when you work with identity, there's like a lot of login. There's like, how do you confirm? There's a lot of claim. There's a lot of those kind of things. And if you get it wrong, you can imagine the fines of that. So it's a very sensitive area to be in. And at the same time, when working with this, we had a lot of pressure from our managers to deliver. So we were chasing the delivery. And when you chase the delivery, when you chase the deadlines or the milestones, you could end up like we did in a challenging situation when you don't spend enough time on knowledge sharing. We were doing microservice-based architecture, and that team had responsibility for a number of microservices. So if there was a new functionality in one or two of those, it could be that there was only one developer who knew how to add to it. And of course, with the pressure, there was no time for knowledge sharing. So we basically created silos in the squad or in the team, created dependencies to some of our senior developers. And that like, okay, this is the only guy who knows this, or this is the only girl who knows this one. And there was simply no time for knowledge sharing because the deliveries were always like super stressful. And when you're a developer, a junior developer trying to pitch in, trying to help, and then you get shut down by a senior developer, because they're stressed, they don't mean to shut you down, but they don't simply have the time to do knowledge sharing. You create a very difficult situation from a kind of team building perspective or team cohesion perspective, where some people are feeling super stressed out, thus being annoyed, snapping off others, and other people are just trying to help, but are then getting frustrated because they're not being let in. So it was bad environment in the team. It created a lot of like people wanted not to stay in the team. Both the ones that are super stressed and the ones who are trying to help were not happy about the situation. And everything was basically being sped along by the managers who had too much pressure on the delivery. And I would say that looking back, I think the best thing we could do was to take the time for the knowledge sharing. and tell the managers, and I think I did that at one point, like, you cannot keep on pressuring us. We will basically break down. We'll have to hire new developers. We'll have to learn everything again, and it will set us back quite a while. So I talked with the managers. I asked them, okay, you have to stop with the pressure. We need to sort this situation out. We need to do the knowledge sharing of our critical domain, or the critical microservices at least.
So you were trying to create some space, some time for the team to do what you already knew at that time was going to be a necessity, right?
Yes, exactly.
And how did that go? Like when you presented that to the managers, how did they react?
We can say that we ended up in a bit of a conflict, to be honest, because they really wanted the pressure, but I knew that my team could not. I mean, we were basically living on loaned time here. We could only do this for so long, and I had no idea how long that was. I just had the sense that we cannot continue. So I think I managed to buy us some time to negotiate for some time, because the option would be that you have no team. Then you would have to wait for God knows how long to get your delivery. So we bought us some time to do the knowledge sharing. We set up, I think we tried to set up like occasions once every week or once every day for some time, and then once every week on the key microservices that everyone needed to know. But it's like, I think it's hard because you are experiencing this lot of delivery pressure in the business as a whole, and then you're trying to find ways to deliver, thus entrusting more and more to your trusted team members, and not letting the junior ones share in or pitch in.
And I think that you very well illustrated this concept of a spiral, right? Like, is this destructive spiral that starts in the team, like we're in a hurry, so we don't have time to share. But because we don't share, we're even more in a hurry because we can't share the work. And then there's the problem that anyone else in the team that doesn't know what needs to be done ends up being a burden.
Yep.
And of course, people don't like feeling that they are a burden.
Everyone has their pride in what they do and wants to feel useful, and also, of course, wants to contribute to the team delivery when they know that the managers are breathing down our necks, but not being able to.
Yeah. If you could go back in time, Lena, if you had like this magic time machine and you could go back in time, like what would you have done differently in that team?
I think I would have done knowledge sharing on a more regular basis, not skipped it the first 1, 2, 3, 4 sprints just to enable the delivery, but just like handling it along the way, instead of basically telling the managers that we need to stop here and now, we need to stop with this and you need to give us time. So I would try to make it more of a iterative process.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point. Like the lack of knowledge sharing only gets worse over time. Like it never gets better, right? So the earliest you can tackle it, even if it's just a little bit, it's going to be a lot better than if you try to do a lot of knowledge sharing later on.
For sure.
Absolutely. It's a great warning and a great story. Thank you for sharing that with us, Lena.
You're welcome.
Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. But tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.